Say goodbye to ESLint and Prettier. This video is a 2-for-1 where I get to show you Biome, a Rust-based linter and formatter, but also show you a zero config setup of it called Ultracite. If you've been holding out on trying Biome, this is absolutely the way to do it. With a single command, you'll be ready to go so you can write and generate code faster with Biome doing all the work in the background. If you need more convincing than that, ShadCN loves and uses it too, and it even has an MCP server. So let's take a look, and while we're going, I'll point out my top 5 reasons for loving Ultracite. Starting at number 1, it is super easy to set up. You literally only need one command, and that is npx ultracite init, or in my case, I've switched it out for bun. Once we run that, we'll be taken to the setup wizard, but I'm actually going to go ahead and skip the rest of the setup here, as first I want to go over the features so that all of these options in the setup actually make sense. So we'll put reason 1 on pause for now and jump straight to reason 2, and that's what's at the core of Ultracite, super fast linting and formatting powered by Biome. If you haven't heard of Biome before, it's a blazingly fast, all-in-one toolchain that replaces ESLint, Prettier and more, and as you may have already guessed, that's because it is written in Rust. The benchmarks on the site have it close to 35 times faster than Prettier, and I believe that. Using it personally, I forget it's even there, it is so quick. I won't go into too much more detail on Biome itself, as I trust you know what to expect from a linter and formatter. Biome is just the same, but much faster. You can see on VS Code, we get all of the usuals, like the callouts here that say we have an error, it underlines everything, we can use the quick fixes, and we have the output down here as well. And if we go ahead and save this, you can see that it's formatting and linting on save. It also has all of the usual commands that you'd expect for checking your code and also auto-fixing it. But if you're using Ultracite, you can actually use that wrapper CLI, where we can do npx ultracite lint, and that's actually just a wrapper around the Biome check command that makes it a little bit easier to type out. And we have the same thing as well if we do format. This will go ahead and write the changes that it's able to make to your code base for you, and it's the same as the Biome check -- write command. So just a little helper there from Ultracite. Now, something obviously very important to your linter and formatter is the rules that you set up in the configuration file. You can see my Biome config here, and this is where you'd usually have all of your rules. But we just have one thing, which is extends Ultracite. Ultracite is actually a highly opinionated rule set, and it includes rules like enforcing TypeScript strictness, following the ESLint recommended rules where it can in Biome, and it has rules for React, Next.js, Node, and accessibility all built in. And then when it comes to formatting, it includes conventions like 2-space indentations and max line width. Now, this is where I want to specifically call out that you don't need to be scared that Ultracite is another toolchain in the JavaScript world. I think we have enough of those. Just think of it as a helper for setting up the best tools and also providing some linting and formatting defaults straight out of the box. You could actually delete Ultracite from the Biome config, remove the package, and everything would continue to work. Even those CLI commands that I showed you earlier, as I said, they were just wrappers around Biome commands. Plus, if you don't agree with some of these rules, since this is Biome, you can literally just come in here and modify the rules as you see fit. If you want to find out what all of Ultracite's rules are exactly, you can check out that Biome configuration on that GitHub, or perhaps an easier way to do it is to read the AI helper files that you can generate in the setup process. This is my third reason for loving Ultracite. It is AI friendly. During the setup process, you can actually select which AI assistants you use, and it will generate these specific rule files that are going to help guide your AI assistants to write better, more consistent code that follows the best practices. You can see all of the rules written out in plain English here, and I actually have 2 of these files in my project, one for Claude and one for Cursor, since apparently we can't agree on a standard for all of these AI assistant files. Please, guys, settle on a standard for these markdown files. It is super annoying to have a different one for every single AI agent. Now, if you're wondering why it matters that your AI assistant has access to these rules when you're probably going to lint and format afterwards anyways, well, it's actually a dual approach that ensures that the AI assistants write better code from the start, reducing the need for fixes later, and for you having to go back to the AI to ask it to fix the linting issues. Something that I've already encountered a lot of times when using other tools without these rules. You can actually see here in Cursor when I asked it to add me a new endpoint that it says make sure it follows the Ultracite rules and user preferences, so I know that that code that's generated is probably going to need a lot less linting and formatting, and it's already following the best practices from Ultracite. That's all that really needs to be said about the AI integration, so let's jump into reason number 4 for why I love Ultracite, and that is that it plays nicely with others and gives you built-in scaffolding to set up hooks like Husky, Lint Staged, or Left Hook. In my case, I used Ultracite to set up Husky, and it installed the package for me and set up the configuration for my pre-commit hook to just have that single command, npx ultracite format. This means for me that all of my committed code will follow my standards and the code quality is enforced, so I don't have to remember to format my code every single time I commit. As I said earlier, Ultracite isn't really in the business of being a tool itself. Its purpose is a quick start with existing tools. Obviously for Husky, this would have been easy for me to set up myself, but it's just really nice that there's a tool out there that handles it all for me quickly in every single new project that I might start. And for other tools like lintstage and left hook, the configuration is a little more involved and it will also handle them as well. On to my fifth reason then for loving Ultracite, and that is that it has an MCP server. With this, you can quiz your assistant on the rules that Ultracite has. Maybe you want to know some details about a specific rule and why they might have put that in place, but it also means that you can bring these rules into every single chat that you have with an AI, even if the tool doesn't support extra rules like in a markdown file. It means you don't have to go and copy and paste all of these rules, paste them in there and ask it something else. My example of that is Claude Desktop, where sometimes I ask it to write me short snippets of code, and it's nice that I know it's going to follow the Ultracite rules since it's able to pull them in via the MCP server. That's my top 5 reasons for loving Ultracite then. If you've made it this far and you like what you see, let's go back to reason number 1, ease of setup. With our single command of npx ultracite init entered, we'll be taken to a setup wizard where all we need to do is answer a few questions. The first one is, which package manager do you use? Hopefully you can get that right, and in my case, I'm going to select button. Then we're asked, which editors do you want to configure? Now this is a really cool thing about Ultracite, is it will set up your editor to be using Biome instead of Prettier or ESLint for the formatting, and it will also set it up to format on save and on paste, and it's just a super nice thing to have in your project settings so that you know every time you open up the project that has Ultracite in it, it will be using Biome as your formatter, and that you're not changing your global settings on VS Code or anything like that. I personally use VS Code or Cursor, so I'll go ahead and select that option, but it's also really nice to see that they support Z as well. Next, we'll ask, which editor rules do you want to enable? When we saw those AI files earlier, this is where we select which ones we actually use. In my case, I use Cursor and Claude Code, and we can hit enter on that. Then, would you like any of the following? And this is where we can choose the pre-commit hooks that we looked at earlier, and in my case, I was using Husky, but they support left hook and lintstage. And there we go, that is all there is to setting up Ultracite. It goes ahead, installs the dependencies for you, and creates the files. We can actually see in the Git changes here, all of the files that it's created there for me using that setup process. We have our Biome configuration. It's added in a few packages into my package.json, like Husky and Ultracite here, and also Biome itself. It's then gone ahead and added in those markdown files that I wanted it to create for my AI assistants, set up the pre-commit hook, and then change the settings for VS Code here to make sure that we're using Biome as our formatter. And then, as I said, it adds things like format on save, format on paste, and a few other things. Now, you do want to make sure that you do have the Biome extension installed as well to make sure that it can actually work as the formatter for your editor of choice. And there we go, that is Ultracite. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. While you're there, like and subscribe, and as always, see you in the next one.